We are now officially 1 week into the NBA season, and man, has it been fun so far. We've already seen our first 50-point game, some narratives have been fulfilled and some broken, and we've already seen our first star trade. It's safe to say week 1 has been anything but boring, so I want to look at how things have been going so far. Who's been playing better than expected, who's been playing worse, and who's been dominating. First, let's start with the champs, the Denver Nuggets, who basically look as good as they did last year. Although I don't think anybody was predicting the Nuggets to be bad, I think most people were over-exaggerating the impact that losing Bruce Brown and Jeff Green would bring because they look like the title contenders again. They look like the betting favorites for NBA champions. Jokic is playing like an MVP and the Nuggets look great, and simultaneously it also looks like they've coasted to their 4-0 start. The Nuggets GM may have got a lot of flack for his unnecessary shots he threw at Bruce Brown, but to be fair, Peyton Watson has looked better than even he gave him credit for. Off the bench, he's been a defensive game changer for them. On that side of the court, his IQ is far too advanced for a 21-year-old. Him and Christian Braun look like they're going to perfectly fill those shoes that were left behind by Bruce Brown and Jeff Green. Oh yeah, and they're both also younger than me. This Nuggets core outside of KCP is all younger than 28, and they have the makings of a dynasty. So yeah, I'd have a hard time thinking they're going to fall out of contention in the next 5 years, unless another unfortunate injury happens. Their win over the Lakers to start the season can simply be boiled down to them executing better than the Lakers did, and I can confidently say now that Jokic has AD's number. Yeah, AD had some issues in the second half, but Jokic was a big reason why he scored 0 points. And unfortunately for the Lakers, it doesn't seem like Anthony Davis has Jokic's number, and honestly, it doesn't seem like anybody in the NBA has Jokic's number. Talking about the Lakers currently sit at 2-2 and have a few more problems to work out than most people, including myself, expected. Both of their wins were a bit ugly and came down to the end, but you need wins like that to be a contender, so there's no shame in getting those. But the new guys have had some mixed starts. Christian Wood has looked actually pretty good. He's averaging 7 rebounds in just over 19 minutes, and he hasn't started a single game, so that's been quite impressive for them. Gabe Vincent has been not so great. I'm not giving up on him yet, but he hasn't hit like any of his shots. Thankfully for them, D'Angelo Russell has looked alright. Even if offensively he struggled, he has looked pretty bought in on defense, which is all you could ask for. Cam Reddish has been the Cam Reddish experience, which is half the time he doesn't look like he should be on the court again. And Taurean Prince looks actually pretty great. His defense is hit or miss, but he's shooting over 40% on over 5 attempts a game from 3. So I think they're going to be pretty happy with that. As far as the rest of the guys go, like I said, Russell's looked okay and he's looked good on defense. I'm not concerned about Reeves. There's nothing he's done to make me concerned. Sometimes shots don't fall, sometimes they do. I think he's going to get back to this form. This team definitely misses Vanderbilt though, and they need that defensive presence back, so they're definitely hoping on him to come back soon. The big questions though come with LeBron and Anthony Davis. Firstly with LeBron, Darvin Ham only played him 29 minutes in that loss to the Nuggets, and a big reason why they lost, or some Lakers fans think they lost, is that LeBron only logged 6 fourth quarter minutes, and Darvin Ham said this is going to be the new norm for LeBron. Did subsequently broke it with a 35, 39, and near 33-minute game. And although I don't think he's going to actually stay at the 29, I think he's going to be closer to that than the 35 and 37 he averaged the season before. The good news, though, is LeBron actually still looks great in year 21. He's gained to the basket just as easily as he was like 10 years ago, and the Lakers really need that. Anthony Davis is, for the 5th year in a row now, taking the main role from LeBron finally, and it's going about as well as it did in the past few years. He's looked good, but it's hard to say you're going to win something when your best player is scoreless in the second half of a game. I'm not doubting that Anthony Davis can be the guy, but I'm just saying LA needs him to be if they want to win this year. Staying in LA, actually, the Clippers finally made the move for James Harden and now have a big 3 of James Harden, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard. For me and a lot of others, this trade definitely pushes them into the contender tier now, and the high-level contender tier, but how high is dependent on how Harden plays. Before the trade, the Clippers actually looked really good. Paul George looked like an all-NBA player, and other than future assets, they didn't give up a lot of the important pieces they had to get Harden. It's going to be interesting to see, though, how James Harden fits into the system. Usually, wherever he goes, he demands a lot of touches, he dribbles a lot, and the Clippers haven't played an offense that favors that, so it's going to be interesting to see if they bend to him or if he joins them. And who's going to get the main ball handling duties even then? You have Westbrook, Harden, PG, and Kawhi, so somebody is going to have to sacrifice dribbling the ball, if not 2 of them. And what type of Harden are you going to get come playoff time? There's a lot of questions, but this 9-man rotation of Westbrook, Harden, Paul George, Kawhi, Zubac, Bones, Mann, Powell, and Plumlee is pretty deadly, so who knows? This might be one of their best chances yet. But speaking of the Harden trade, the Philadelphia 76ers are in quite the interesting spot now. You acquired a few picks and a bunch of medium-sized expiring contracts that definitely leaves you with two interesting options. The first one being they could be gearing up to make a trade at the deadline. Maybe a player like LaVine is available, and now they have the picks and contracts to make that work. Also though, if they choose not to, these contracts are going to be expiring and the Sixers are going to have 2 max slots in the offseason. The big thing here though is, how does Joel Embiid feel about all this? Can you convince him that not going all in for winning for another year is worth it? I think it's going to be pretty easy considering how good Tyrese Maxey's played, and there's a pretty good chance that there's a good player available at the deadline, but it's going to be interesting to see how things unfold in Philly this season. Zach LaVine dropped the first 50 piece of the season, and Chicago still lost to the Pistons. Chicago has been trying to scrape together a playoff roster since the Lonzo Ball injury, and for the second season in a row, it looks like they are failing. Even if you have gone 500 so far, a player's only meeting after game 1 and losing on a 50-point performance is not good. And it's probably a sign that something needs to change and you need to blow this up. But considering in Chicago, they're probably just going to commit to mid for another year. On a positive note, the Boston Celtics have been the only team to look on par with the Nuggets, if not better this season. Jason Tatum has been in MVP mode and Boston's new additions look really good. Kristaps Porzingis has been amazing. His presence as a rim deterrent has been perfect, and he has been a game changer for their offense. Being able to run a actual 5-man out lineup without sacrificing any size on the defensive end is great for Jason Tatum as he's gained the basket constantly and makes him one of the most deadly teams in the league. I'm not sure how any teams other than teams with a great, if not elite, perimeter defender will stop this Tatum 5-out strategy, and if so, they're gonna have to sacrifice somewhere because Boston has assets everywhere. I also find it hard to believe that there's a better defensive frontcourt than Drew Holiday and Derek White right now. Holiday has really stepped into that Marcus Smart role and just fulfilled what he was doing last year, if not better. Keep an eye on Boston. This might finally be their year. The Milwaukee Bucks look pretty scary, and despite a rough outing from Dame in one of his first 3 games, they look like the contenders they were propped to be. Dame has looked lethal in a Bucks uniform, and the Dame and Giannis pick and roll works just as well as you think it would. Giannis looks in near MVP form, and Adrian Griffin has actually showed a lot of promise as their coach. His offensive sets with and without Giannis have been very effective. It gives me a lot more hope come playoff time for Milwaukee. Portis is still great off the bench. He looks even better this year defensively. Middleton, even though he hasn't been making all the shots, has still been a net positive. So just imagine how lethal they're going to be when those shots start falling. Jay Crowder looks like Jay Crowder again, which is a perfect fit for this Milwaukee team. So yeah, I'd also pay attention to them boys out of Milwaukee. I'm excited to see how they match up with Boston when they finally play. It's hard to talk about MVP level players this season and not mention Luka Doncic, who has almost single-handedly willed the Mavericks to a 3-0 record. Through the first 3 games, he's posted a near 40-point triple-double, and he is yet to record a turnover in the fourth quarter. He's been deadly in nearly every regard, and fourth quarter Luka Doncic has single-handedly won the Mavericks all these games. The Mavericks outside of Luka look as inconsistent as they usually do. Kyrie Irving hasn't found the bottom of the basket very consistently. Tim Hardaway Jr. is incredibly up and down. But Grant Williams has been a pretty much perfect fit for this Dallas team, and Derek Lively looks like the perfect draft pick for them. They're still a few pieces away from being real contenders, but until then, Luka is going to continue willing them into that conversation. As far as the rookies of the league go, Victor Wembanyama looks as generational as he was touted to be. Defensively, Wemby is a menace. His intuition and natural size means he's probably going to be all defensive team this season, and if not, at least next season. There was a lot of offensive struggles I and a few other people expected, at least to start out his career or start out this season we thought we'd see, but he hasn't had like any of them, and he looks incredibly confident. The Spurs around him ain't looking too bad either. Vassell, Keldon Johnson, and Sohan all look really promising. Scoot Henderson has had some pretty serious struggles so far, but I, for one, am not concerned, and I think that with time, he's going to look as good as we were hoping. Someone who's already figured things out though is Brandon Miller, who's averaging 17 and 6 and shooting 43% on 5 threes a game, and he's still not starting. Holmgren has looked as good as I hoped. Defensively, he's a menace, and OKC looks like they're actually going to take that playoff leap that most people were hoping for. Ausar Thompson looks like a near elite point of attack defender already, and nobody on earth is going to be able to keep up with Amen Thompson. And there's a lot more around the league to find out about. Are the Pacers going to stay hot? Can the Magic take the leap? Is Atlanta going to finally figure things out? Cade and Duren look deadly together. Is New York going to make a big splash? Where does Cleveland fall in the East? What is Golden State's ceiling? When is Toronto finally going to blow it up? What does Phoenix look like with all their stars? And we still have nearly 80 games for each team to play. But I just wanted to see what we've learned after week 1. And if you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. And let me know down below what you learned after week 1 and what I forgot. As always, thank you for watching, and peace.